Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing? Happy Saturday Zoom.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Linda.
Good morning, Kathy. How are you?
Good, good. How are you doing this morning?
I'm a little tired. I did not sleep well. I couldn't fall asleep, and I was so tired. And I even went outside. I did some weeding, and I tried to get myself tired. And I was tired. And then we stayed up for one more show, and I threw my cycle off, and then I just couldn't fall asleep. It was like 2:30 before I fell asleep, I think. And then my cats were fighting on the bed at about 5 in the morning, really fighting, not just playing. And there was sounds of someone getting hurt and the other one going, hiss. I was like, oh my God, I don't.
Oh, no.
So yeah, so that brings me to what's in my diffuser. Because I did not sleep very well, I decided to look for something that was going to wake me up. And this is what I found. I've got 3 drops of lemon, 3 peppermint, 3 rosemary, and 3 orange. And it smells divine. I love rosemary. I just love the way that smells. I love to put it in my cooking, but I love the way it smells. And it's just like, bling. So hopefully I'll be alert and awake today. So, all right. What do you have something in your diffuser?
I do. My diffuser's off to the side there. And I have Kid Power in my diffuser. And just because I love the smell of it.
Yeah.
Smells like,
too.
An orange creamsicle that we used to have when we were kids. So it's just kind of, I don't know, brings back good memories.
Yeah.
Too. So I just love it.
And it's empowering. It gives you, it's like the kids' version of valor, I think.
Right.
So it gives you courage, but adults can use it too, right?
Yeah, I guess maybe I could just even put a little bit. Smells good.
Yeah. Nice.
There we go. Awesome.
Good morning, Mary. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good.
Good morning, Mary.
You
Good
look like you
morning,
need my
Jen.
wake up diffuser blend.
No, I've been up. I've been up for about an hour and a half, but
Yeah.
running around and getting the day ready
Right.
to do what I got to do.
Yep. Me too.
Orange and cinnamon is in my diffuser.
Oh,
Oh,
that's gonna lift you up too, because
Yeah.
that
I
was
missed
the
my
ones.
orange. I had to wait for my order because I ran out.
Ah, I love orange and cinnamon together.
Mhm.
That used to be my go-to diffuser blend after school when I'd get home and feel like, and I don't want to make dinner. I would throw orange and cinnamon in there. And then after about half an hour, 40 minutes, I'd be like, okay, Martha Stewart here. What are we going to cook for dinner tonight? And I was amazed at how, I don't know, invigorating that one was. So
Yeah, and I love orange even with thieves. It's such a great,
yes,
I consider it more of a fall type diffuser blend, but I use it
right.
all the time.
I use it all the
It's
time
not,
too. That's one
yeah,
of my
it's not,
go-tos for my main living room, dining room, or living room, kitchen area is the thieves, some variation of thieves or orange or cinnamon. Those are my go-tos. But
yeah.
all right. Well, we have a very interesting show today. I didn't know a whole lot about this topic of environmental health. And I think we've known for years that going outside is good for us, right? Your parents are always like, get out of the house. They lock the door and send you out there to, brave the elements, go play in the snow for a half an hour, 3 hours, whatever it is. But just being outside is good for you. But the area of environmental health goes beyond just our physical environment of the world that we live in, but also, my dear, but also the environment of our homes and the things that we come in contact with. So there's a lot of different areas to cover today. And once again, Kathy and I started delving into the research, and there's no end to it. There's just so much. So I've got a whole page full of links to share with you where we extracted information today. And I'll just start with, I think these are some words from both Dr. Axe and also something I pulled off of AmericanNurse.com. So research proves that the environment conditions play a significant role in human health and well-being. When creating a basic daily checklist, a self-care checklist, sorry, including activities that will improve your environment and how you interact with it is key. And the American Nurse people say environment doesn't only mean the great outdoors. Your environment is everything that surrounds you, your home, your car, your workplace, the food you eat, and the people you interact with. So we've got some steps. I'm going to mention Dr. Axe's 5 steps, and then we're going to go back into detail. Seems to be the way we do things around here. But I forgot to pull up the Facebook page to see if we have any visitors on Facebook today. So I will do that after I do this. Okay. So this may not all make sense to you, but we are going to go back to it. So number 1, spend time earthing. Okay. I wasn't sure what that was, but now I know now. Number 2, declutter your home. Number 3, there's a lot of decluttering. Number 3, use toxic-free cleansers or cleaners. And number 4, reduce your carbon footprint. I guess there's only 4, not 5, 4 of them today. So we're going to talk about earthing. And let's see if anybody is hanging out with us today. Let's see if we're hanging out. Okay, we're hanging out. And I think we're good. All right, so now I can follow along if somebody pops in there. All right, so earthing. What the heck is earthing, right? That sounds weird. You know, we're all earthlings. Don't we normally earthing, aren't we? Okay, I'm trying too hard here, right? All right, I'm gonna just give you a quick definition. It's the process of absorbing Earth's free-flowing electrons from its surface through the soles of one's feet. Okay, for some of you that might seem like a little do-do-do-do-do-do-do, but there are electrons. We are electric bodies here, and the earth gives off electricity and electrons. And so what happens is, I'm going to stop sharing this and go to my notes so I don't get this wrong. It means that we are transferring negatively charged electrons from the surface of the earth into the body, where they neutralize the positively charged destructive free radicals involved with chronic inflammation. So this was it involves involving walking barefoot outside with the soles of your feet connecting directly with the surface of the earth. It helps to reduce stress, improve sleep, and boost energy. And inflammation is a big reason to do this. It seems to be one of the things that affects us most. And with inflammation, of course, if left unchecked, that can develop into other problems. So including like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, arthritis, Alzheimer's, cancer, all of those things. So the Earth's energy makes the ground beneath our feet an extremely effective and abundant antioxidant. So, and I like this part, it's free. No pills, no prescriptions. All you have to do is reconnect. It was discovered by Clint Ober, a retired pioneer of the American cable TV industry. He was sitting on a park bench watching people walk by, and he realized that every one of us wears these rubber-soled shoes, right? And it prevents us from connecting directly to the earth. He knew from working in telecommunications that it was necessary to ground cable systems to protect them from other electromagnetic signals in the environment, which would cause interference. He began to wonder what benefits humans could receive from connecting with the earth, and he sought to find out the answer. So there are several different links that we'll put in there, including there's one with an interview with Clint Ober about that. But for now, I'm going to share the screen and share a quick 2-minute video to tell you a little bit more about that. So where are we going? Safari. I don't know what's going to pop up here. Share, but I don't want that page. I want this page. And of course, now it just doesn't start when I want it to. It was starting all the time before.
Did you know that the act of putting your feet on the bare ground can improve your health? Well, holistic health experts have promoted the idea of earthing, that exposing your body to the bare earth can cause it to receive electrons from the earth. Well, the idea is that these electrons can act similar to an antioxidant, basically neutralizing free radicals. And free radicals are a major reason why we age. Yes, in fact, grounding has been scientifically shown to reduce inflammation and alter the numbers of circulating white blood cells, cytokines, and other markers of the inflammatory process. One study has shown that grounding the human body to the earth during sleep can reduce nighttime levels of cortisol, which is a stimulant. It can help regulate the circadian rhythm and even improve the quality and the restfulness of sleep. I'm a fan of earthing. Although I don't do it as much as I should, I know some people who swear by it. Now, in fact, I have some friends who, after getting off a plane, make a concerted effort to find some bare earth as soon as possible. And once they find it, they take off their shoes and their socks and they stand on the bare ground. They find it therapeutic. Well, although the science supporting the effects of earthing is still slim, it does make a lot of sense to me. And it can't hurt. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be giving you tons of useful information on how to look and feel your best holistically. I'm Dr. Anthony Yoon, America's Holistic Beauty Doc. Remember, true beauty is holistic. See you soon.
All right, see you soon. Oh, you know what I did as I stopped sharing, but I didn't turn it off. So the next video is going to come on and okay, we're safe. So it does make sense.
And think about so many people that gravitate to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's our and not just for the fun aspect of being out at the beach or whatever, but doesn't that make you feel good to sit in the sun, to walk along the beach barefoot? I mean, so many people, if you say, where would you rather be? The beach, I don't know, let's say Vegas,
Work.
Work or in the mountains. So many people talk about, man, I just love the mountains. Why are they gravitating toward the mountains? It makes them feel so good, like you said, with earthing. And also for the beach, the same thing, I would imagine. For me, it's more warm weather. But I do like the mountains. I do like being out in nature. And is that just our bodies nudging us and telling us this is what's good for us?
Right. And I think it's easier to do this grounding and earthing at the beach because you're naturally barefoot.
Mm-hmm.
In the mountains, you're probably wearing shoes, and depending on how high up you are, you probably have more clothing on than you would at the beach. So it's a little harder to do because it is bare skin contact. And Kathy and I were looking back and forth. It's like, wait, can we do it if we wear socks? Nope. The socks, create a boundary, or a
barrier of some kind.
Barrier, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you. And we thought, well, it's hard to ground. I was thinking about my house, my yard, and I would never go out and walk barefoot in my yard for several reasons. And one, the front yard looks pretty good, but we get that treated every 6 weeks. So do I really want to be walking barefoot on something that's been chemically treated? You know, that'll be our number 3 we talk about today, with those toxics, the toxic chemicals and things that are in our environment. So doesn't seem like a good idea. And in the backyard, my yard doesn't have it, like the grass doesn't grow. I got mostly weeds, and that's because the soil here isn't really soil, it's sand. And it really attracts all kinds of critters, including red ants and other ants. So there's ants everywhere. I don't think I'm going to risk earthing with ants. It doesn't make sense to me. So Kathy and I were saying the beach makes a lot of sense. So got to get out there and go to the beach. But other methods would be you can lay on the ground and stuff, you know, again, I'm not going to lay on the ground with the ants around, but you can hug a tree, you know, making contact with a tree or something like that. That's going to be helpful too. So there are other ways to get around it. And then there's a bunch of man-made contrived objects and things like grounding socks and grounding mats and things like that, which I'm not sure. I'm not going to recommend that unless you do a lot of research about that, because anything that's man-made, of course, is not going to be as good as Mother Nature.
Mother Nature.
Yeah. Gardening is another way that you can earth, you know, if you're getting your hands into the ground and the dirt, but I would think it would not include my kind of gardening, which is planters. I have all these, you know, container gardens on my concrete patio, which is another barrier. So this would be getting out and weeding or ground, you know, getting into the garden with your bare hands, a garden that is actually planted in the earth and not in a container.
And also you want to make sure that your soil has been not contaminated, like you said, and you talked about with having your lawn sprayed. It's the same thing for gardening. Gardening, what are you putting into that soil to help your things grow? Are you using an organic material, or are you using something else? There are different alternatives to toxic pesticides that you can use with essential oils and other things, in comparison to doing, using pesticide stuff that is actually certain toxins in it. So that's another thing with getting your hands in the soil. You want good soil.
Right. Absolutely. And I remind me to bring this up about pesticides later, because I want to ask Mary about pesticides in the villages. And I don't, you may not have any information about this, but this is something that I noticed on Nextdoor. Somebody was complaining about it, and I didn't realize that this was done, and it sort of made my jaw drop. So we'll get to that when we start talking about toxins and pesticides and things like that. So, so let's see if there's anything else about earthing. Reconnection with the Earth's electrons has been found to promote intriguing physiological changes and subjective reports of well-being. And so better sleep, reduced pain, and you can be walking barefoot outside, or sitting, working, or sleeping indoors connected to this conductive system, which again, I don't know enough about to recommend that. So if you have a nice lawn that is not treated, get out there and walk barefoot and do yourself some good. And I think anytime you spend time outside is good for you anyway, vitamin D and all of that. Did we do earthing justice? I don't know. Didn't have as much on that one. Number 2 is decluttering your home. So how do you feel about that? Do you is that something that you do, Kathy or Mary? Do you declutter? Well, Mary, you're always packing boxes and moving, but
no. But I do. I'm organized to the hilt.
Yeah.
I hate clutter. I hate I hate it. I
Yeah.
like to know where everything is and put everything in a drawer. I mean, it gets a little confusing when you move, trying to figure out where you put it, but
Yeah. Oh, that drawer was in the other house.
I keep
I do.
turning toward this, toward the one part of the room to go to the sink, which is on the other part of the room, because I'm so used to going there to, to go to that area. But
I
I'm pretty decluttered.
I always think of that one thing about where everything has a place and everything in its place.
Mhm.
That's when I come down into my office area here, I when I don't have things organized in like rows or packets or whatever or folders, I kind of, I feel a little tense until I get organized and I could, lay it all out. But normally when we're done here, I'll pack everything up and put them in their little piles and
Mhm.
try to keep it as organized as possible.
I did that this morning. I was feeling overwhelmed. Um, I was telling Kathy yesterday I'm a note writer, but I end up having like piles of notes and things like that. So today, before we started, everything went off except for the things that I needed for the Zoom. So I've got my my notes, and I got a notepad to write on, and I, clear so I can have, really focused and not have my mind cluttered by the clutter around me. Kathy, you told me an interesting story yesterday about your son at college. Do you want to give us a version of that? Talk
Sure.
about the power of decluttering.
Oh, yeah. When my son moved to Iowa to go to chiropractic school there, he joined a fraternity. And at the fraternity house, he didn't want, they offered him 2 rooms actually, which would be the largest space in the entire fraternity house on the top floor. So he had moved all his stuff in there because he was living in an apartment there prior to joining the fraternity. So he had a lot of stuff and it was everywhere because he had to move his furniture in there, all his clothes, his books, his everything, his desk, all of that. So I noticed when talking to him on the phone, he felt a little tense or, and was a little anxious about something. And then he told me about the kid that moved in across the hall from him in this space that was totally needed renovation. And his parents and grandparents came and helped him fix it all up and organize everything. So I said to my husband, we got to go there and check out what his room looks like. We got there, and of course, everything was just like disorganized. So we helped him paint and clean and reorganize, and we got everything put away. Everything looked great. And again, everything in its place and everything had a place. And when we were done, and we sat down in his like little living area, and he just fell back into the sofa and says, "Oh my God, I can breathe again." So that was his anxious feeling, like he felt overwhelmed by all the stuff, I think, being everywhere and not being able to have time to really organize it and get it squared away, which we were there working for 3 days from morning till almost midnight every night and got everything all set. So,
Wow. Um, yeah, there's a lot to be said about that. So that's your personal environment, right? Um, and your house or your abode, wherever you happen to be, can influence your mood. It can impact your behavior. It can either facilitate or not facilitate interaction with family or friends or relatives who come by. And it can either reduce or cause stress, as in your system, your son's situation there. Um, According to psychology today, there are 6 benefits from an uncluttered space. Number 1, it creates a sense of confidence and self-efficacy, seeing yourself as competent. It's number 2, it's energizing. Number 3, it reduces anxiety. Number 4, decluttering allows mind wandering and sometimes involves physical activity. So that's a good thing. That's to have your mind wander because you're not like affected by all the stuff that surrounds you. It's kind of like when we want to clear our brains so that we can think, well, it's the same with the physical room around us, that if there's too much stuff, it kind of blocks those brain waves too. And it can reduce relationship and family tension. And when you declutter, you often find lost treasures, which is true. You know, how many of you have ever like put something in a safe place and then forgotten where it is and you don't know where it is? I when my grandmother died, my aunt made she got a picture of my grandmother when she was probably about 20 years old, and it was a beautiful picture. She had it printed for all of us. And I was like, oh, this is so pretty. I can't wait to put it up. And I took it and I put it in a safe place. I could not find it. I could not find it. And I finally had to call my aunt and said, could you send me another one? I can't find it. And then later on, several years later, I was looking through a notebook and I found it. It was tucked into the notebook. And I guess that notebook was a class that I was teaching on improvisation, which that's not where the picture belonged, but because I was visiting and studying and this was the safest thing that was going to protect it, that's where I put it. And that's where it was. So now I have 2 pictures of my grandmother. But yeah, you lose things, you lose track of things, and even in the best of situations, right? Because I do believe in there's a place for everything and everything in its place. Unfortunately, my husband doesn't believe in that. So we're like this sometimes. Just put it away, you know, even if it's like 3 inches out of the spot where it belongs. It irritates me. So I may have an issue with that myself, but
sometimes even when you put something in plain sight, you may miss that because of the clutter.
right.
You know, my mom had a piece of jewelry that she swore she accidentally threw away and she couldn't find it anywhere. Well, where she did end up finding it was on her dresser, hanging on a little figurine she had on there.
Mhm.
And she had put it on there so she would see it.
Right.
And my mom is not really a person that keeps a lot of clutter around, but she had a couple other things on the dresser that she just kind of, glazed right over
Mhm.
while looking and didn't see it hanging there.
Right. Right. It's crazy. Yeah,
Mm.
I like to have everything organized, everything in its place. And I feel like I am constantly evolving with that. And you know, something's not working. Like my desk right now, there's a little bit too much on it, but then you're limited by your space. So you
Hmm.
either have to give stuff up, get rid of things, put it out of sight, or you have to do the reorganization thing. And I'm limited by how many drawers and what's here and the stuff that I do collect. And I do end up collecting a lot of stuff, but I've gotten better over the years. I mean, I got rid of truckloads of things before I moved down here. So I feel like I've got the essentials, but I'm still getting rid of stuff. I went into the garage and decluttered the garage this week because I couldn't take it anymore. And what was I saving? Cardboard boxes in case I have to mail something to somebody. Like that was a big part of the clutter. So, and I did feel better after that. I felt so accomplished. I spent the whole day in the garage, but I felt accomplished that look, now it's going to work more functionally. Right.
Hmm.
Um, Another website says again it pretty much reiterates it alleviates anxiety and depression, it helps you sleep better, it lessens allergens, and it does that because you have less stuff where dust can collect.
Hmm.
You know, if you're somebody, and I like little figurines and photo, you know, framed photos and things like that, but think about it, it gets overwhelming. Sorry, I thought I heard somebody, but it was the cat moving. Um, it gets overwhelming if you have too many of those things, and then you have to dust each one of those things, and then how often do you actually dust? So if you're somebody with allergies, it's probably a good idea. Less is more is the key for that. It cultivates a happy environment. It gets you moving, because when you're decluttering, you've got to take from, you've got your piles, right? Keep, give away, sell, throw away, those types of things, and keeps you going. Let's see. This website says that extra stuff isn't just messy. It could actually be holding you back from living your best life. Here's what you need to know. It's not just in your head. Extra stuff is stressful. This is according to the Mayo Clinic. If the constant stream of things to pick up around your home leaves you feeling anxious, you're not alone. Objects have the power to do just that. In fact, when working couples gave tours of their homes, women who used more words describing clutter and disorganization also tended to show levels of the stress hormone cortisol, suggesting chronic stress. On the flip side, those who described their homes as being restful or talked about their beautiful outdoor spaces were less stressed and reported less sad feelings as the day went on. Let's see. They say it makes you distracted. Clutter makes it hard to focus. And one study showed that more stuff doesn't equal more fun. And I know somebody close to me, or was close to me, whose daughter had more toys than a toy store. And just like Christmas was like, here you go. And just so much stuff. But when toddlers were given just 4 toys to play with, they played twice as long as when they had 16 toys to choose from. So less is more there. 4 toys, you're going to be more focused on those 4, rather 16 where you're going to keep changing your mind. And I don't know, that could be another study. I mean, does that something that, I know ADHD is usually something that is innate. You're born with that, or that chemistry, but who knows, maybe that's something that can trigger ADHD or make it worse by giving you more, by cluttering more. So something to think. If somebody has ADHD and is, feels those tendencies, they probably want to streamline,
right?
So that they're not affected by that. I didn't think about that before. It says hoarding can keep you up at night. Lack of sleep inhibits decision making, namely decisions about acquiring or getting rid of stuff. So I think we're in trouble for thinking about that instead of sleeping. Let's see. There's another article that talked about the evening 15 decluttering method. So if you feel like stressed by things, just take 15 minutes before you go to bed to get rid of some of those things. And I think that's just like on a regular schedule. So for me, before I go to bed, I make sure the dishwasher is loaded and I run it. And I clean up the counters a little bit, if I haven't done it after dinner. And I'll fold the blanket I was using on the couch and put it back and straighten the pillows, just things to kind of make everything feel like back in place again. So let's see, that was the 15. Yeah, clutter reflects an overabundance of possessions that collectively create chaotic and disorderly living spaces. It's often the result of over-attachment to our personal items, which makes it difficult to part with them. It isn't abundance that's the problem as much as attachment to abundance. So something to think about. So I was glad that I could get rid of things, like I was saving so much. I had boxes in the attic at my other house, a kindergarten box for each kid and a first grade box for each kid. And I started looking through those things and I'm like, why? It was just one big fire hazard. So yeah, I am of the opinion, even though I have a lot of stuff, a lot of it's purposeful stuff now, and I try to get rid of the rest. So
Yeah, I went through our kids' boxes because I did the same thing with school things in there from them. And I kept a few things that, from their boxes that fit in a little file folder. And then I gave them the rest of their box. And I said, you can toss it, you can look through it. I kept, and I brought my little folder over. I said, this is what I kept that was important to me. And,
right.
I put it away. I said, but these were things I kept over the years that I didn't know if it would be important to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I would probably say that most of their stuff got tossed.
Yeah.
So, well, I was keeping it for my memories, I think, more than
Mm-hmm.
their memories, but then have to give it up sometime, right?
Yeah, I have probably 2 trunks worth of memories, but that's not just kids' memories. They're my memories. They're
Right.
theater mementos and things like that, which, I pared it down before I moved. I pared it down again when I got here. And, I'll give it another year or so and then I'll go back and I'll say, well, you know, I don't need all of those things. But, I have letters from my husband from when we were dating and stuff like that. Like that stuff I want to keep. And I think that sometimes the older you get, the more important those things become.
hmm
And the same for my kids. Like I think my daughter would be more interested in those things in a few years rather than right now.
Right. Right.
But anyway, I didn't say good morning to Irene. Good morning, Irene. Thanks for
Good
joining
morning,
us.
Sorry, I'm
Irene.
late. I had some issues this morning,
No,
so,
that's okay.
but I'm okay. So that's the important thing.
So we're going to do a segue into number 3, which is about toxic chemicals and things in our environment. And this segue is that humans interact with the environment constantly. These interactions affect quality of life, years of healthy life lived, and health disparities. The World Health Organization defines environment as it relates to health as all of the physical, chemical, and biological factors external to a person and all the related behaviors. Environmental health consists of preventing or controlling disease, injury, and disability related to the interactions between people and their environment. And so they have 6 themes: outdoor air quality, which a lot of times we can't control. And that's something I want to talk about once we get into talking about pesticides, I guess. The surface and groundwater quality. Okay. And my groundwater, I don't know. I drink filtered water and I'm considering getting more filtered water, but that's a big thing that can really affect you. Toxic substances and hazardous waste. I can't talk this morning. Your home and your community, the indoor air quality, your infrastructure and surveillance, and then global environmental health. So right now we're going to segue into creating healthy environments that include getting rid of some of those toxic chemicals that we can control. So Kathy, I'm going to give it to you now.
Okay, so I'm going to specifically talk about things that are, in our immediate environment where you spend a lot of your time other than at work or outside is your home, by things that you use to clean with and things that you're breathing in all day and all. So I'm going to start with talking about instead of using conventional toxin chemicals to disinfect your home and body, you want to stick to natural cleansers that won't cause side effects or adverse reactions to you. So I'm going to start talking about things that you want to avoid in your cleaning products or any of your other products that you're using in your home. And the first thing are phthalates. And phthalates can be found in, and I'm going to read this right from here, many fragranced household products such as air fresheners, dish soap, and even toilet paper. Okay, and because of the ah, because of the laws and the prop, I can't even say the word, but anyways, the laws, companies don't have to disclose what's in their scents. So that they put in your products. And so you won't really find the phthalates listed on their labels. So if you see the
It's proprietary.
proprietary, yeah,
Proprietary is their secret formula,
recipes
and they just write fragrance, but they don't
instead.
have to reveal what's in their fragrance. So go ahead. I don't want to.
Okay, no, thank you because I couldn't get it out of my mouth for some reason. It was there at the tip of my tongue, and I'm going, okay, I know how to say this. Why isn't it coming out? Okay, so if you, like you said, if you see the word fragrance on the label, there's a good chance that it does have phthalates in it. So what are some of the effects of phthalates? It can damage your reproductive system. It's linked to low sperm count in men. It also increases your risk of diabetes. And it's also tied to early puberty in young girls. And how do we avoid that? Okay, so whenever possible, you choose something that's fragrance free, so it doesn't have all that crap in it, and an all natural organic product. Stay away from aerosols and plug in air fresheners. Instead of using those things, spraying things like that, use essential oils in that place. You can mix up something, a lot healthier and a lot better for you and your environment. If you have a diffuser, you can diffuse oils as well. Okay, besides them causing serious side effects, they can also cause endocrine disruptions and air fresheners can trigger migraines, asthma attacks. Um, so it's better to not have those things in your house. Go for the all natural or more, the healthier options.
Ditch the candles.
Ditch the candles,
Oh.
of course. Yeah, ditch the candles. I mean, you could even use like reed diffusers too, where you add some oils into the water and put your little reeds in. So you're not really getting the mist, but you're getting that fragrance that's a true plant-based fragrance, a clean fragrance in that respect. Okay, also, there's some other types of things called, oh boy, I'm going to call it PERC because it's just a super long word that is
I don't know if I can pronounce that either.
Yeah, it's pretty long, but we can.
Perchloroethylene.
Okay, there we go. PERC. Okay, that's found in dry cleaning solutions.
Oh, good.
So if you go to the dry cleaners and you're dropping your clothes off, that's definitely going to be in there, unless you're going to an organic cleaner that doesn't use that particular type of dry cleaning solution. It's also in your spot removers, in your carpet and upholstery cleaners as well. Some of the risks of that would be they're neurotoxic. They're also possibly can be carcinogenic, and they can also cause dizziness, loss of coordination, as well as a plethora of other symptoms, I'm sure. And how to avoid that? You can choose for your home if you're hanging drapes or curtains. Try to pick things that are not dry clean only, along with your clothing as well. Don't pick dry clean only things. You could also, instead of using a dry cleaner, they also have what's called a wet cleaner. So this is when they use, and it's at a cleaners, obviously, it's when they use a water-based technology rather than chemical solvents. And, so that's a good alternative to using that. Also, stay away from anything that has triclosan in it. And triclosan is found in liquid dishwashing detergents and soaps that are labeled antibacterial. So when you're using antibacterial soaps, constantly or even antibiotics constantly, you know how that creates like a super germ because, you know, eventually, you know, these germs are going to get killed off, but then they come back stronger and tougher at you.
Yeah, they become immune to the antibacterial
Ex-
substance, whatever
Right.
it
Then
is.
what do you suggest we use because of COVID? You can't use soap.
Just regular soap and water is what
Hmm.
I've been told, that you don't need that antibacterial element. That was something that the companies put in there as a way to enhance their sales, is say, oh yeah, but you really want this antibacterial.
Well, what type of soap do you use?
I use Thieves hand soap, and in my guest room I use another Young Living brand that doesn't have the extra chemicals in it. So
And not only that, they say too, if you're using friction when you're washing your hands, you know, you're getting rid of that. So it's not just a simple little
Right.
dab and done. You know, they want you to scrub for like 20 seconds or something or
happy
30 seconds.
birthday to you.
Yeah. That's how we taught our kids.
Yeah.
Exactly. Is sing happy birthday.
Or the ABCs.
Or the ABCs. You're right. That's right, Irene. So some of the effects of triclosan, let's see, we don't want to overuse it, just like we were talking about, because of the antibacterial chemicals, and the microbes develop a resistance to it. And other studies have found dangerous concentrations of triclosan in the rivers and streams where it is toxic to algae. And the EPA is also investigating whether or not it can be an endocrine disruptor and a possible carcinogen, but that hasn't been clearly defined as of yet. Okay, how to avoid that is use simple detergents and soaps with a short ingredients list. Avoid antibacterial products with triclosan for home use. And if you're hooked on, you know, using hand sanitizers, choose one that is alcohol based without triclosan. So I know we've mentioned in the past that Young Living does have a hand sanitizer, a Thieves hand sanitizer. And what the alcohol in there is made from, it's made from a peppermint. Is that correct, Linda?
I
It
don't
has
know.
some,
I'll look it up.
yeah, I think it's peppermint or something that is extracted, that that's what the actual alcohol base is, I believe, in our product, in Young Living's product. Okay, so there's other things that we can avoid too. QUATS, which is quaternary ammonium compounds. Okay, and whether or not I'm pronouncing that correctly, I'm not sure, but the little quoted word is QUATS. It's found in fabric softener liquids, dryer sheets, and most household cleaners labeled antibacterial. So what the effects of those are, it says QUATS are another type of antimicrobial and thus pose the same problem as triclosan by helping breed antibiotic resistant bacteria. There's also a you know, they can also be a skin irritant and cause some problems with respiratory distress, even in healthy people when they're exposed to that, can possibly develop asthma as a result. So how to avoid having these effects from this QUATS or QUATS? Ditch the fabric softener and dryer sheets. You can use dryer balls. You can add vinegar to soften your clothes and get rid of static. Use that in your rinse water. And the vinegar is not only non-toxic, but it also removes soap residue in the rinse cycle and helps, like I said, prevent the static cleaning. So the best one to use, your best choice would be white vinegar. Is great also for cleaning and can get stains out.
I put that in I don't use fabric softener. I just put white vinegar in the slot for the fabric softener for
Mhm.
every load. And then I use the dryer balls in the dryer and I spray it with a linen spray that I make with distilled water and some witch hazel and some essential oils.
Yeah. And and speaking of essential oils, alternatives to cleaning disinfectants include antibacterial, antifungal, tea tree oil. So tea tree oil is great if you have a little mildew or a little yuck in the bottom of your shower. You can make a little spray with tea tree oil, spray that on there, let it set, and then use your scrub brush. It'll take a little elbow grease, but you can get it out that way. So, and with that, you add a teaspoon of, or a tablespoon rather, I'm sorry, of vinegar and water in the spray, and it works great. Another one is called, I can't even pronounce these
I
things.
know.
Two
You know, they
dash,
should give it a
butyl-
short word. You remember it. The
Yes.
words,
Oh,
the chemical word. I mean, I'm not a chemist.
Right.
And I mean,
exactly.
you're giving me all this information, which is wonderful. Not your fault, but why don't they give it a simple word? You know, translate it to English.
Yeah, for me, I would probably just call this next one 2-butyl. 2-butyl. It's butyl.
Butoxyl ethanol.
Butyoxanol, yeah,
Like that.
butyoxanol. And it's found in window, kitchen, and multi-purpose cleaners. So
I'm busy.
butoxy, we'll call it that, is the key ingredient, like I said, in many window cleaners. And it has kind of a sweet smell. But let's see what it says here. I don't want to read out the whole thing to you.
Sore throats.
But it causes sore throats when inhaled. High levels can contribute to narcosis, pulmonary edema, severe liver and kidney damage. So you want to be careful when using those. You should use them in a well-ventilated room. So if you're using that cleaner in your bathroom, you don't want the door closed, you want it open, you want your windows open. I think any cleaners, unless they're all, unless they're actually a healthy, non-toxic cleaner, when you're using them, always keep your house well ventilated.
Yeah.
And,
Or
even
don't use those cleaners.
or don't use them.
Just
Exactly.
don't bring them in. Yeah.
Right. And how to avoid that? You can also clean mirrors and windows with newspaper and diluted vinegar.
Mhm.
And
You know
for,
what works well is newspaper.
yep. Yep, you're right, it does. With that diluted vinegar, it puts that little bit of a shine onto your windows and your mirrors.
Mhm.
And you can also make your own formulas using baking soda, vinegar, and essential oils. There's a number of DIY cleaners that we could help you with if you're interested. Just, pop a little question in the comments on what you would like cleaned, and we can give you some alternative.
Yeah, I've
things
got
to use.
my book of recipes for anything you want for cleaners, because I either use the Thieves Cleaner from Essential Young Living, or I make my own with combination with that. But vinegar is big, baking soda is big for me.
Mhm.
Stuff that's not going to gum up your life, get
Right.
into your body and cause issues.
And we all know to avoid ammonia, but ammonia is found in polishing agents for the bathroom fixtures, in jewelry. It
Jewelry cleaners.
also is in glass cleaner, and we all know not to mix ammonia with chlorine bleach.
I
Right?
did that. I
That
did that.
oh no,
Yes, I did. And I almost passed out.
yeah, it's
It
very
makes
very
you
toxic.
extremely toxic.
Hmm.
Mm.
And because ammonia evaporates so quickly, that's why it doesn't leave streaks, and that's why it's in so many glass cleaners or mirror window cleaners. Let's see.
It's funny that it's a selling point, though.
Mhm.
Like if you see I just remember seeing a window cleaner with ammonia, like
streak-free cleaning.
Yeah, it's a selling point, but it's something that's so dangerous for us.
Well, I have a little rule when I go food shopping, which
Mhm.
would help now with all of this. I don't buy anything that has an ingredient that I can't pronounce.
Mhm.
Because
Good
the
rule,
longer it
Mary.
is and
Good
the
rule.
worse it sounds,
That's a
and that
good
sounds
rule.
like it's a good thing for cleaning too, because if you can't pronounce it, don't buy it.
Right.
Right, right. Okay, and then, people that already have asthma or elderly people with lung issues and breathing problems, that ammonia will affect them much quicker and more acutely, I think, than it would the normal person. Doesn't mean it's not going to affect the normal person, because it does.
Mhm.
But, and if you've used it over a long period of time too, uh, you know, you could develop some chronic bronchitis or asthma. And there are other things you can use instead of that, and how to avoid using it. You can actually use vodka. It produces a reflective shine on metals and mirrored surfaces. And
So I should clean my windows with vodka?
you can use vodka.
Well, oh,
That's
you're
what it-
supposed to drink it or use it on the window?
Well, if you drink it, you won't care if your windows are
That's
clean or
right.
not.
I like the vodka.
Exactly. Exactly. See? Yeah. And your toothpaste makes a good silver polish. I don't know if you've ever heard of using toothpaste and then
Yeah.
shining up your rings with that, kind of brushing out your stones and everything. Um, I've done that before, and it does make your, like your engagement ring or your diamond, kind of sparkle after you're done.
Diamonds?
Yeah, you can use toothpaste on a diamond.
Who has the diamond? That's what I
Yeah,
want.
really.
Okay. Also, chlorine is another bad,
Mhm.
a bad ingredient in things, and it's found in most scouring powders, toilet bowl cleaners, mildew removers, laundry whiteners, and it's also in household tap water. So if you don't have a filtration system on your faucet or filtered through your refrigerator, you might not want to drink too much tap water with all the stuff that's in it. So some of the health risks with chlorine exposure, let's see, it's in our city water, like we said, to get rid of bacteria. And some of the risks can be chronic respiratory issues or respiratory irritant. And, it's also considered a thyroid disruptor as well. So how to avoid, for scrubbing instead, use baking soda, and you can add some essential oils or thieves cleaner right to the baking soda and make it kind of a pasty thing, and that works great instead of using like a soft scrub with bleach or something. It's good for your toilet bowls. You can clean with vinegar and baking soda, and you can also use borax powder to clean your toilet bowls as well. But I'm not sure if borax itself has an issue with some type of chemical that you shouldn't inhale. So I'll have to look into that a little bit more. But it did mention borax in this particular why is the word escaping
Article.
me? Article. Thank you.
Article.
I didn't have my mind wise this morning. Okay.
I didn't have mine yet either, but that's coming soon.
Okay. And how to avoid that, like I said, stick to those things, and to reduce the exposure to chlorine through tap water. I've already mentioned to install filters either at your kitchen sink, and you can also, they have a filtration thing for your shower head as well. And a friend of mine sent me a link to it, and I'm not sure I know where that link is right now, but they do have some type of filter you can attach to your shower head so you're not getting that tap water on you. Another chemical to avoid is sodium hydroxide, and it's found in oven cleaners and drain cleaners. And the effects,
It's also known as lye.
Right. It's also known as lye. It has sodium hydroxide is extremely corrosive. So if it touches your skin and gets into your eyes, it can cause severe burns. The roots of exposure, like we said, are skin contact, inhaling it, and it can cause, if you're inhaling it, it can cause sore throats that last for days. So how to avoid having those reactions? Again, you can clean your grimiest things with baking soda, with a baking soda paste, and a little elbow grease will help you to clean so many different things. You can unclog drains with a mechanical snake instead of using a drain cleaner. You can pour baking soda and a cup of vinegar down the drain and plug it for 30 minutes, and that'll help clean your drain and get some clogs out of there. So the other thing you want to be aware of too, so many products have that term, or we're trying, greenwashing on it. So they kind of,
They've jumped on the bandwagon without really doing the work and getting on the bandwagon.
so they kind of mask how they present the things. You know, you get those nice little labels that look like recycled paper with green writing on it. And all those things that, you know, things that they may say natural, biodegradable, it doesn't always really mean that they're non-toxic, and that's what they truly are.
I think a lot of times they put like, this is natural, or it's biodegradable, or this is a green product, but they're not really, because you can just claim that. That's not, there's no regulation about that. So you can claim that. So your best bet is to read labels and look for some of these chemicals. And I made a list of those chemicals that you talked about today and put it in the comments on the Facebook page. So just as a, not as a synopsis, but just a list. So.
Great, thank you. Okay, so our next thing that we're going to be talking about is reducing our carbon footprint. And go ahead, Linda, were you going to say something?
So when you think about your carbon footprint, it's really just taking care of the environment. You know, all of the things that, yeah, I don't know if that carbon footprint, I don't know if I like that term or not, but it's really just taking care of the environment. And so Dr. Axe came up with a couple of things, just easy things, right? Eating local produce, conserving water, reusing and recycling, bike or walk instead of driving whenever possible. So you're, you know, minimizing those, the wasteful acts. So there are nutritional ways that you can reduce your carbon footprint or your load on the earth. One, just stop wasting food. Food that's thrown away decomposes in landfills and emits methane, a particularly potent greenhouse gas. And when I looked at greenhouse gases, because I didn't understand this all contributes to global warming, because we need these greenhouse gases, but because of human activity on Earth, the amount of greenhouse gases is growing, and I guess that's not good. So anyway, if you waste food, it's going to create more in the landfills and produce this methane. Ditching plastic. I think a lot of these things are just things that also create and take more energy to make or manufacture. So yeah, cut down on your plastic, you know, plastic bags, plastic wrap, plastic Tupperware kind of things, you know, switch over to glass. Drink from reusable water glasses or water bottles instead of buying water bottles, which also can be dangerous to your health because the phthalates that are in the plastic bottles can leach out into the water, and then you're drinking those chemicals. And especially if you don't store your water in a safe place, like if, you know, I think I've got some water. I do buy water on occasion, mostly for on the go travel if I'm running, or guests that come over, because I don't know how good our tap water is. But if you store it out in a hot garage, then that's going to cause that leaching to happen and those chemicals are going to get in there. So make sure that you've got it in a cool location if you do choose to use those water bottles.
I think there was a study done with women that were drinking
Warm water.
water, yeah, warm water from their plastic bottles, their disposable bottles, or or recycled their bottles even, that they had a higher rate of breast cancer.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
So-
for 1 minute. I'm listening to, what we can do, okay? You cannot buy bottled water in a glass.
Oh.
It's all in plastic. We cannot buy products that don't have toxins in them. And we're trying to save the earth, correct? I mean, this is a goal for all of us, how we can cut global warming. It's fine. And I'm on that track. I'm trying desperately to cut back on chemicals and stuff like this. The problem I have is the brainwashing that they have done, the labeling, the chemicals they use to make these products. Why don't they stop the manufacturers from doing that? I mean, I can only do so much.
Money.
yeah.
I know it's money.
Money.
And-
I mean, it's like big
listen-
pharma. We don't need all of those medications. We need a lot of them. We need some of them,
Right.
but we don't need everything. And it becomes too great of a business, too much financial risk to get rid
Isn't
of
that
something.
sad?
It is
And then-
sad.
and, I mean, I'm listening to this, the government telling us, we gotta cut back on this and cut back. Excuse me, don't talk to me, talk to the manufacturer. Because I don't manufacture that glass or that plastic bottle. I'm not the one out there producing this. They took the glass bottles away from us and they gave us this plastic, which is toxic.
Yeah, remember when milk came in glass bottles?
Yes,
I think also, like, just as a consumer, you have to stop consuming certain things, but it is difficult.
Everything.
So
everything.
as far as like with water, if you don't trust your own water source and you want to buy water, I would say buy it in larger containers. So buy a gallon of it and pour it into glass bottles.
Well, that's what I
Right.
do. I mean,
Mhm.
Or
and I
you
have-
could even, and
I
I've
have
thought about this
thermoses.
as getting a water service, but a lot of times they don't come in glass bottles anymore either. They come in the big 5-gallon
I
tank.
know.
that you-
Thank you. I used to lift them. They were
Me
heavy.
too. We had them at work all the time.
We
And
did
I don't
too.
know, it seemed like I was always the person
I
who wanted
know.
water when it was empty. So
Well, Linda, you know how tall I am, and to lift those 20,000 gallon thing and put it on top of the cooler, we used to have it in our house. We had well water, which is vile,
mhm.
Mhm.
and you couldn't drink it. And we had to have the machine with the big, what are they, 10-gallon or something? I forgot what they
they're
were.
they're 5 gallons, I think. Maybe.
And man, to lift that and put it on there was a joke,
Yeah.
but I did it.
Yep.
And you talk about recycling and, because you said ditch the plastic, but recycling is also another thing that it can decrease, but it also, I think, increases our carbon footprint as well, because they have to run the equipment to do the recycling for these, to break down everything. And so
And it's probably less energy to recycle something than
it is
to
to,
start from scratch and make something
Right.
new.
right.
But yeah, you're
So-
right. It's still gonna.
So it's kind of a balance there, I'm not really sure what they do there.
Some of the other things they said nutrition wise is trying plant-based protein, cut back on dairy, eat less meat, eat more fiber-rich foods, grow your own produce, and eat locally, like buy
Local produce.
local stuff. So a lot of those are like the whole dairy process to make cheese is a huge process and it takes a lot of energy.
Mhm.
And so the closer you can eat to nature, the less energy it takes. It takes natural energy. It takes sunlight. It takes photosynthesis, all that stuff.
Mhm.
So it's a lot cleaner that way. Plus, it's better for you. Other things, incorporate walking or bike riding if you have short errands to go to. Of course, living in the villages, nothing is ever close unless you live like on the edge of town. So that's that's a hard thing. I have to go get my bike fixed. I'm gonna do that and maybe start biking to Publix because it's only a mile or two from
Yeah,
me.
you're close.
I'm close to Publix. Yeah. Turn off your lights and unplug devices when you're not using them. Keep the tires on your car properly inflated and get regular tune-ups, because when your car isn't efficient, then you're using more energy. Use the cold water cycle for washing your clothes. Talks about setting your thermostat in the summer and the winter at different things so that you're not using too much energy. But I'm not even going to say these numbers because for me, that's not livable. Drive efficiently, keep stuff out of landfills. So reuse, give it away, find another purpose, or keep it and fix it, right? We don't do that very often. Oh, this was about some clothes. Buy classic clothes that will last, so a good quality items, clothing, and things that aren't going to go out of style. If you buy very trendy, you're not going to keep it for that long. Probably you're going to get rid of it and buy more. It's also, you could buy your clothes at vintage or consignment shops so that you're recycling, reusing. Buy less stuff. Bring and use your recyclable bags to the stores. Try to avoid items with excess packaging. I think manufacturers are getting a little bit better about that, but some are not. When you get those little plastic containers that you have to rip them open, you can't even get into them without destroying them.
You have to have a special tool.
Yeah. Looking for Energy Star products when you replace your appliances, different things like that. So a little goes a long way, I think. And if everybody just makes that little bit of effort, I feel like sometimes we as humans have gotten lazy and we've bought into this life of convenience that probably started, just post World War II, where TV dinners, for example, like, here's your dinner, you just got to pop it in. And in the 50s, people were all about that, right? I mean, not everybody, but it was like a convenient, and we didn't think anything of it. We thought, wow, what a great idea. I don't have to cook tonight, pop it in the oven and we have a full meal. So I would say with anything that is out there, just weigh the benefits with the possible hazards of using something. We now know all that frozen TV dinner food is completely processed and void of a lot of nutrients, just not good for us.
As well as a number of the fast food places too.
Right. That was the other, boom, let's go to McDonald's. Drive-throughs didn't really happen until after. I think I was older, but going to McDonald's was a big treat. If I went out shopping with my mom, I remember we met my aunt halfway between our houses and we're like, oh, where should we go for lunch? Let's go to McDonald's. We were like so excited. Everybody loved it. But
I remember when we moved to California, I think I was about 6.5, 7, somewhere in there, probably 6.5. And the further west we got, because we drove out there, the further west we got, the more McDonald's I saw. Not that I think that they started there. We just didn't go when I lived in Michigan before living out there. On the way there, we saw, the closer we got to the coast, we saw a lot of Taco Bells popping up here and there too. So as far as fast food, when I was younger, and we lived in California, it was Taco Bell and McDonald's. And McDonald's had 2 hamburgers, the regular plain hamburger with mustard, ketchup, and slap that little pickle on there. And then they had a cheeseburger option, and that was it.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad coming home like on a weekend or something after he was working on a Saturday, whatever, he'd bring home one of those big, like McDonald's houses with 30 hamburgers in it, you know. So, but that's when I remember McDonald's. And at the time, they didn't have any indoor seating. It was like you drive up, you stand at the window, you get it, and
Mhm.
you go back to your car. Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Yeah. so
remember,
for
I
this-
remember, I remember the first McDonald's, the very first one.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I go back to the beginning when the first McDonald's came out and you could get a hamburger for, I think, a nickel.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, now they have Big Macs, which is God
And
knows what's in that.
yeah, a number of other items on the thing as well, on the menu as well.
Yeah,
Yeah. So we like our creature comfort, we're creature comfort. What is that? What's that phrase? We like our creature.
we live in a
creatures of habit.
we live in a disposable society. We are the disposables.
We want it fast. We want it easy.
Want it now.
Yeah. And that has really affected our health in so many different ways. And I think in many ways that a lot of times we don't even realize, you know. And I always go back to the idea that the instances of cancer and other diseases that are hereditary are much, much lower than the behavioral and environmental causes for such diseases. So we are doing it to ourselves in most cases. And so buyer beware, you know, start reading those labels, start thinking about what you're using, what you're ingesting, and how you're living your life, and try to hit on some of those different areas of wellness that we've been talking about throughout this series of loving yourself, you know, the physical things that you need, the emotional, mental things, your social relationships, and today the environmental. Next week, we're going to talk about our spiritual health and how that's important. And I won't equate that with God necessarily. I think to each his own. Everybody has their own set of beliefs in that area. But I think being spiritual doesn't necessarily, for some people, mean belief in a higher being, but it could be just an awareness of self and being in touch with those
A connection to,
connections.
you know, your world around you,
Yeah,
your
right.
people, your environment, all those things. It's that strong connection of feeling, I don't want to say safe. That's not the word I'm looking for. Feeling fulfilled or feeling, you know,
Yeah,
at
fulfilled.
ease with yourself, or, you know, good with yourself.
You know what happens when you do that is that you look beyond yourself and at others, and you learn to understand people and be nicer to each other, which is right now there's a lot of anger amongst all of us,
Right.
no matter who you are. It's very prevalent.
And what's really hard too is, you know, like when you're out and like, okay, now Linda's smiling, I get to see her smile, and you can tell that, you know, she's happy, or she's, you know, now when you greet someone at the store and you say hi to them, they can't, you know, you got this mask on and they can't see that, you know, unless your eyes are really expressive, they can't tell you're smiling even when you say hello. Is it a grumpy hello? Is it a hi, how are you doing? You know, and they can see in your eyes when you're smiling.
Yeah.
There's a little boy at the store, and he was smiling at me, and he didn't have a mask on because he was too little to be wearing it. And he was playing peekaboo with me, and he's like looking at me, and he had the biggest smile on his face, and I was smiling back, but of course he couldn't see it. But he was still kept interacting with me, which he must have noticed something, you know, with a
I
change in my,
noticed.
you know, and it was just like, then I realized not everyone can see that with people, that this little kid picked up on it. So I
Well,
thought,
don't hide behind your mask. I mean, keep smiling even though you think nobody can
right,
see it.
right.
You know what,
exactly.
that's it, because if you're grumpy, people can tell.
Mhm.
Mask,
Mm.
if you have a mask on And if you look from the bridge and at their eyes, your eyes tell a lot.
Mhm.
So when someone greets me, I always smile. I have a mask on, but they smile back. There's
Yep.
a communication that way.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, we've gone on for an hour and 20 minutes. I think we are growing. There's just so much to talk about with all of these topics. And hopefully if you are watching live with us, thank you, Mary and Irene, or on the wellness Live Well and Wise, or maybe this is many days past and you're watching it on Linda Loves Lavender. But thank you for joining us. As always, feel free to post, contact us back with questions. I will post the links in the Live Well and Wise post so that you can go and see where some of that research is, because we gave you highlights, but I have a list that's probably a page long of all of the different resources that we used in bringing you this information. And once again, we thank you for joining us. And
Thank you.
yeah, hope you guys have a great rest of your Saturday, the weekend, and the nicer weather's coming. And Kathy's coming to the nicer weather again, so that'll be fun. So
Yes, it will be. Can't wait to be there.
all right, happy Saturday, everybody. Thanks again.
Thank you,
ladies.
See you
Thanks
next
for
week.
joining us.
All right.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good.